In this super special mini bonus episode of Fictional Hangover, we talk about an apocalyptic good time, wine, women, and weed, escaping existential dread through writing, throwing down a cosplay challenge, and no spoilers? What? In our chat with PC Cast, author of the brand new book coming out July 12th, Into the Mist. No spoilers. Sorry, I can't handle it. Everyone knows how I feel about PC Cast. All right. Hey, everybody. Welcome to Fictional Hangover, a podcast about young adult and new adult books, series, authors, and voice actors that is full of spoilers. I'm Amanda.
And I'm Claire. And today we're going to chat with PC Cast. Yay!
Yay! Always fun to be back.
Yay! We love having you. This one's so weird for us, though, because there's no spoilers. What are we going to do?
We have to talk carefully around the spoilers.
We do.
Okay.
We do.
Okay, we can do that.
We do. We can do it.
I'm also over 300 pages in Out of the Dawn, the second book. I'm almost done with the second book.
Oh my God. Okay. Ooh, I might have just died a little bit on the inside, but it's fine. It's great. I'm excited. So
there's the level of crazy in book 2 is 10 out of 10. So
yes.
Yay.
That's what we like to hear.
The body count's pretty high too. Yeah.
Excellent.
And again, a favorite topic of ours.
I know. So everyone, we're here talking with PC Cast. Hooray, our favorite. And we are not being spoilery at all about her brand new book, Into the Mist, which comes out July 12th. And as everyone who listens to Fictional Hangover knows, we are slightly obsessed with PC. We've covered all of House of Night, Sisters of Salem, but now we've got a new adult duology on the horizon, and we're so excited for it.
Yay.
Me too. I haven't had an adult release in so many years. And it's so cool that I have these two books coming out, Into the Mist and then Out of the Dawn, that we were just talking about, that I am into the very last half of the second book. And then I'll be doing adult books for Morrow, for Rachel Conant William Morrow. The first one will be about Boudica.
Oh,
so
wow. Yes.
Yeah, I'll be giving voice to dead queens. So I get to do a whole bunch of adult stuff. And then with Kristen, I'm still working on YA, and she and I will have a new YA duology that we can announce pretty soon too.
Oh, that's so exciting. The first question that I wanted to ask you is that you've been writing YA for several years, but you started out with adult, and now you're doing adult again. So, like, how do you feel about that? You're back home.
I do. I like, when I write YA, I don't think about like pandering to teenagers. I don't think about, and you guys have read them, so you know, I don't think about, oh, let me wash this out, or this is too intense for a teenage audience, because I taught teenagers for 15 years. And I know that they are a lot more capable and mature, and they know a lot of stuff too.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so they don't, I never have talked down to them. So as I was writing YA, really the biggest difference was that my main characters in YA books are quite a bit younger. And then when I write adult books, I can write, any age I want. And I also realize that I have the freedom to get scarier, sexier, all that kind of stuff, grosser, and not worry about any of it being edited out.
That's our favorite things: scary, sexy, gross. Three things that sing to Fictional Hangover.
That I tell people that, Into the Mist has been like labeled as this feminist apocalypse thing. What it really is, well, see, I think that any book that represents women authentically is a feminist book.
Yeah.
Because if you're a feminist, you just believe that women are equal to men, which shouldn't be a radical thought, but in America today, it's a very radical thought.
Yeah.
Yeah,
so,
it is.
Yeah. So I knew that Into the Mist and Out of the Dawn would be labeled as feminist because it's a female point of view and it's a apocalypse. Sorry. Sorry. I think it was a spider, the spider thing. It's Grandma Spider, go on over there. I'm not scared of spiders. It's okay. But sorry, anyway, because it's of course written from my point of view, and my books, I always try to empower women. And there's a huge, it starts like the apocalypse starts chapter 1. It's a group of teachers who are Oklahoma school teachers who are they're at a conference on spring break in Timberline. That's not far from where I live in Oregon. And they're driving, actually they're on their way to the airport when all hell breaks loose. The bombs start dropping. There's insanity everywhere. And in these bombs, there's a biological element. And the biological element kills any man who breathes it in. Women, you'll find out as we move into book 2 that, well, and you kind of know in book 1 too, so I'm not giving away any spoilers, that if women are exposed too long, it also kills them. Oh. But it changes them on a genetic level, it changes them. And the first symptom of this change is that they realize that their blood can grow plants, grow things, make things grow. Ooh. Yeah, but there's a lot of different, there are other things too. There are other things, especially if you get more than one exposure to the mist and it doesn't kill you yet. But I knew because of the parameters of the biological element that it would be massively labeled feminist. And not only that, my heroines, this group of teachers, they're very, well, men fucked up the world and caused this. We're not gonna let that happen again. So in our world where we are, we're changing things up. And so, feminist!
But I know that doing it right.
Right, but I think of it as a really great adventure that has a lot of wine, women, and weed in it. That's how I think about
That's perfect. I was going to say, like, it sucks that because it's a book featuring powerful women, it's like, it's feminist. It's feminist.
Well, see, I think feminist, that should be a compliment.
Should be, but that's not how a lot of people take it anymore.
No,
and they're changing it.
Yeah. It's a target instead. Yes. But I knew that. I knew that as I was writing it, and too bad.
That's the whole problem with the world at the moment. Anything that's labeled female or woman, especially when it's like specific to that, biological necessity need, it's labeled as wrong and other and unnatural, and it's like it's not. So can I ask, within the book, without too many spoilers, do you address things like menstruation, having periods, or any kind of like, pregnancy issues or anything like that?
Yes, I do. In the first book, there's one of our main characters is pregnant at the very beginning. And yeah, I address it as like a group of women would address it to each other.
Yeah.
It's not like, and now we're going to menstruate. It'd be more like, oh my fucking God, what are we going to do when we run out of tampons? I am not strapping a rabbit fur between my legs. Okay. What are we going to do? That kind of thing. And in book 2, there's more of, God, I don't want to give any, there's a pregnancy in book 2, a pregnancy that is very difficult. And women come together and deal with that. I can't give it away though, because it is book 2. You guys don't even have any read. Well, you guys have read book 1. But
we're pretending that we haven't, okay? So we don't accidentally say anything.
Oh my God, okay.
This is the height of our professionalism now.
We're trying really hard.
Okay, well done. Well done, both of you.
So it sounds like you're addressing a lot of the political and cultural problems that are highly experienced at the moment within the US, and unfortunately it's starting to happen within the UK. So was this book born or spurred on by the current political climate, or is it something that's kind of like, we know you are a feminist, we know, to us you're a feminist icon, you're an absolute legend when it comes to standing up and fighting for women's rights, LGBTQ plus rights, Black people of colour's rights. You were a huge advocate, and it's all over your social media, and it's fantastic. So is this kind of being born from all of that frustration with what's going on with the world, mixed with a story that's been burning inside of you, or is it something completely different?
That's a really good question. I love these two books. I love these two books so much. How they came about was a mixture of all of that. I wrote Into the Mist at the beginning of the Rona. Right. And at the very beginning, do you guys remember, we'll all remember, forever, when it first started, and it was so terrifying and so isolating.
Yeah.
I am so close to my daughter. And of course, we can talk to each other anytime we want, via the internet-a-thon or any of those other things. But it was awful to have to be afraid of being close to her physically.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I know that we all experience different degrees of that kind of thing. But I live alone. And besides all those Scotty dogs and that Maine Coon,
your sea of Scotty dogs.
Sorry, don't get mad. For the first part of that, I couldn't write. I tried to write, and it was gone. I couldn't focus. It was terrifying. I had also, the Rona really started for us in March 2020.
Mm-hmm.
In February, I had shoulder surgery to repair a horse injury. Wasn't her fault though. Okay. It's an accident. So I was also immune compromised and in a lot of pain because there's a lot, I detached my bicep muscle and shattered my rotator cuff and lots of fun things like that. And so I had to do, physical therapy. I only got 2 meetings with my physical therapist in person. And then we had to do Zoom stuff and all that kind of, I felt very isolated and in pain, and I couldn't write. A woman I know, an agent, said, put it into really good words. She said, it's existential dread. And she says, very hard to create during existential dread. So instead I ate cheese and drank wine and watched TV. A lot.
I couldn't love you more.
Yeah. And see, I don't do dairy. So that also made me fat. And so then I had to deal with that after the existential dread started to pass. But, but I started thinking, okay, so the Rona happens, and that was fucking horrible, right? Mm-hmm. Isolated, don't know when it's going to end. So glad I didn't know when aren't we all glad that we didn't know when it started, that it isn't really going to end?
Yeah. It's never going away.
Right. Never going to go away. So that was horrible. And then right around the same time, within just a few months, we had those horrible, horrible wildfires in the Pacific Northwest.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And we're very fortunate here in the Portland area that it was just a warning that they were getting close. But as a result of the wildfires getting so close, we were shrouded in smoke for weeks. It was terrible. So now those of us, I have about an acre in the hills, and at the beginning of Rona, I lived outside. I wrote out on my back porch. I hiked all the time with my dogs. So then and that made me feel like it was kind of normal still, but then the smoke happened and we couldn't even go outside. We had to triple mask if we're just I was going out to feed my koi fish, come back in, triple mask. It was awful, boiling big pots of like cedar and pine and peppermint to try to get the crap out of the air. Had like damp towels rolled up underneath our door jambs. It was that terrible. It was like, it was projected to be like 95 degrees and it was like 62. That's how much the sun was blanketed. It was horrible. And I was losing my damn mind because I was in a really bad fire when I was a little girl. It's like, this is a scar. It's hard to see because I was only 4 then, but I have several scars on me that I've carried around a long time because God knows I'm not 4 anymore. But I have some PTSD issues about fire. And because I remember all of it and everything. We were trapped in a tent. It was horrible, but that freaked me out. And I was losing my shit, man. I was losing my shit. And then I remembered that the last time I felt really trapped, it was in a terrible marriage. And instead of losing my shit, I got busy. And I sat down and I wrote what became Divine by Mistake. And not only was it an escape for me, but it was high fantasy. And I love high fantasy. But way back in the late 90s when I wrote it, it was very difficult for me to find high fantasy that was peopled with characters to whom I could really identify. And so I thought, well, I'm just going to write a fantasy and put like myself and all my girlfriends and like my family and all my favorite places and my favorite things like centaurs in it and wine and a whole bunch of stuff like that, and just take myself on a big old adventure. So not only did I escape mentally from an abusive relationship, but it also eventually got me physically out of that abusive relationship. Being a published author is, I taught too, but Oklahoma school teachers can't really support themselves and children on that. Now I'm like $26,000 a year. Woo! So I decided to do the same thing. I decided to escape again. And I love apocalypse books. Love them. I love apocalypse movies. I love apocalypse TV series. I love them.
Yeah.
But it was the same thing. I have a hard time finding adult apocalypse stories. This is not true in YA. YA authors are a lot better at this.
Yeah.
But adult, I couldn't find characters that really reflected me. Like I love Justin Cronin's The Passage, those books. Love them. Passage, The 12, and I can't remember the other one, what the name of it is. But I don't see anyone in those books that's me or that I can even identify with really closely. So I thought, I'm going to escape this wildfire hell, the Rona hell, the existential dread. I'm going to do exactly what I did in the late 90s, and I'm going to write the book I most want to read. Yeah. And that's what I did. So that's how that happened. And add to all of that. So it was what was going on around me physically, but then add to that Trump was our president.
Excuse me, we need to keep the rating down. Can we not mention that word?
I'm sorry. And
you can say fucker, you can say cunt, but let's not say the T word.
And it was, those of us with any kind of sense know that it was just the beginning of rights being taken away from anyone who doesn't identify as a white supremacist.
Yes.
And so I added that all into these 2 books. But of course, because I was writing them, they also have to be so much fun. Okay.
Of course, they have to be.
If my women's blood can grow plants, they're going to grow weed. Oh, man.
That's the first plant.
Right? And they're also going to be diligently looking for coffee beans that haven't been roasted so I can grow some damn coffee too. And there's the first book is sexy. There's not any real sex in it, but there's sexual tension and it's sexy. The second book, there will be some sex in the second book. It's also sexy, but there's it's fun. It's fun. Okay. I'm having a really good time going into the conclusion of Out of the Dawn, the second book, which, by the way, has the most gorgeous fucking cover.
Ooh.
Out of the Dawn, I can't show you. Well, I could show you guys on the side, but I can't show everyone because my publisher wants to release it, and all that kind of stuff. Yeah. But this cover, it's in the same style as Into the Mist. It is spectacularly beautiful. I gasped aloud when I saw it. It's so gorgeous. So I'm having a lot of fun with these books.
That's really exciting.
Your books recently as well. I know we've mentioned this before when we've just been chatting just together, Amanda, how gorgeous the covers are.
Yes.
Just so pretty. Like the Salem books are just
Salem,
gorgeous.
So pretty.
I love the color pops, and Into the Mist is amazing. Mm-hmm. Amazing.
I just got, where is it? I just got finished copies of it. And it's so beautiful. The title's foiled, and it's a matte, pretty soft gold. It's just, the book is so pretty. And the finished books have illustrations in them of all the main characters throughout. And the finished books also have a Q&A in the back. And cool. They're really, really pretty.
That's cool.
I look at book covers now and I always think, can Amanda make those into eyebrows?
Can Amanda cosplay this book cover?
Can you be the book cover? It sounds silly, but you just do such imaginative, playful things with colours and the makeup. I always look at book covers now and think, can Amanda do eyebrows in this book cover?
Sedona,
and Into the Mist just speaks.
She just did a beautiful cosplay inspired by Into the Mist. I posted it on Facebook for it's gorgeous, very kind of scary, apocalypse looking, but sexy and cool.
Nice. Well, don't worry. I'll have one too, but we have to do it after we talk about it for real on the podcast. So everyone has to wait.
Challenge thrown down, challenge accepted.
Oh, man. So this is the start of a duology. We've been talking about the 2 books in the duology. So how do you feel about writing something so short? Because all of your other series have 1 million books in them.
Well, they tend to be big. It's like Into the Mist was like 125,000 words, mm-hmm. and Out of the Dawn will probably be about that much too. So when you add them up, they're really kind of 3 books. Yeah. I kind of sneak like that. I prefer writing big, and I prefer writing 3 or 4, mm-hmm. but it's always up to publishers. You know, they're like, we want 2. Like, all right, I'll write 2.
I love duologies though. Duologies are perfect.
I like duologies. And my hope, I think what they should do with duologies is like release one year, the other the next year, and then the softback edition should be both of them mushed together.
Yeah. Well, that's kind of what you're doing with Sisters of Salem. You've got Jinx coming out, which is books 1 and 2 in one. Yep. So that's going to be really cool.
And another really cool cover too.
Yeah, that one's a pretty cover. I like that one.
It's really pretty. It's really pretty. I'm hoping that A House of Night gets a whole redo pretty soon. So.
But then I have to redo my cosplays for book covers that I've done. Damn it. Shucks. Oh man. I know.
You can tell he's just inconsolable.
I have gone back in, as we all know, House of Night was written in the early 2000s. Mm-hmm. And looking back at it, especially the early books, especially like the first 4, mm-hmm. There's a lot of vernacular that is not acceptable today.
Yeah.
Like all I did was, I was teaching high school then, mm-hmm. and I just put their words in a book. I put what mm-hmm. they sounded like, what teenagers around me sound like in a book. And retard was a big, if you were a teenager in Oklahoma, you were saying that word a lot.
Yep.
And I don't ever use that word. But I wanted to be authentic to what they sounded like. And I was. That was why kids started buying it and loved them so much. It sounded like them. But it's not okay today. It's also, I have matured as an author and realized that using food to describe people's skin colors is not good. It's not good writing. And there was some situations set up in the early books that come off very much as slut shaming. That was not my intention when I wrote them.
Sure.
Yeah.
I don't understand that. Sadly, I should have been better about that, clearer about that, because that doesn't resolve until book 4 or 5. The thing between Zoe and Aphrodite doesn't really resolve until like book 4 or 5. And I knew I was going to resolve it. I should have gone about it a different way. So I have been asking Macmillan for many, many years. Let me go back in. Let me go back in and update these. Let me go back in and fix this problematic language and fix, some of this stuff. And I've finally been allowed to.
Oh, so, wow.
I've gone through Marked, Betrayed, and Chosen right now. I know that the e-copy of Marked is the latest, is the one I've gone through. I just turned in Betrayed and Chosen not too long ago, so I don't know if that's been updated yet as ebooks. And I just found out not too long ago they're going to allow me to do that with the rest of the series too.
Oh, wow.
I don't need to do it with the Otherworld series because I was a better writer when I wrote the Otherworld series. And also, even as you work through the House of Night books, the kids in the later books just sound like themselves. They don't have to be so reflective of like teenage vernacular around them because we know who they are so well by the time we're into book 4, 5, 6 of 12 plus, right? So the later books have an easier, as I'm going through them, will have an easier going through them. But I'm so grateful that I've been allowed to do that.
That's really exciting.
That's why I'm hoping we also have new covers. That there's a big ta-da, look what we did, and here are new covers.
Yay. Now I have an excuse to read them again.
Hopefully push it towards getting it's the TV network pickup. See it on social media all the time. The excellent cosplayers are always tweeting out to try and get something, anything, please pick it up. So it would be excellent if something like that could happen as well.
The really script is fantastic. I've read it. It's hilarious. It's wonderful. It's really good. It makes me laugh out loud. And it is not word for word from the books.
Sure.
No one would want that if anyone really understood how that would translate. It would be so tedious to watch because books aren't novels, or books aren't movies, books aren't TV series.
Right.
They're a different medium. So I love what the screenwriter has done. And also the screenwriter, she has updated Zoe. So Zoe's no longer still a 2005 teenager. She sounds more today, and she's really funny too. It's good. I like the whole thing.
That's amazing.
Oh, that's really exciting. I hope something comes of it, because I know we've in our Vampire Book Club, we've talked about it obviously because it's involving vampires, and especially with other YA books being turned into TV programs now. Like, but what about House of Night?
Yeah, what about House of Night?
Just little preferences about when would it be set, when it was originally made, like early noughties, or would it be brought up to date? We'll date it by the cell phone. It's fine.
Right.
We'll have a chunky Nokia smartphone.
The flip one's open. A, B.
Oh my gosh.
Oh my God.
My last employer gave me one of those as a work mobile, and I looked at it and went, no, it never got turned on. Never. It's like, this must have been stolen out of a bin, for goodness sake.
But you know what? You could turn it on in the post-apocalyptic world and it would still work.
That's right.
You say that, but it was a really cheap, nasty thing that probably didn't even cost 20 quid. It was rubbish. If it was a Nokia, then yes, I agree, because Nokia is like the cockroach of mobile phones. It would last. But this was just like, we had to get new SIM cards, and I took it into the IT guy. He literally howled with laughter, and I sat there, couldn't look at him in the eye in shame, and just pushed it over the table and just, please change the SIM. Don't say anything. It's not my choice.
No.
My dad had one of those forever. And now that he has a regular smartphone, I'll wake up and look at my phone, and I'll see that I have a missed call and a message from my dad. And I'll go into the message, and it will just be my phone in his pocket for as long as it, and I'll text him, and then I'll call him later and be like, Dad, did you not get my text? Yeah. Dad. But yeah, Dad.
Oh, it's when they get access to emojis. And like, I don't think you know that what the aubergine,
there's
eggplant emoji means.
Yeah, are you kidding me? We don't. Okay, we don't. It's just not. Nope. Dad. Okay.
Oh, that's hilarious. I'm really excited for the House of Knights books being redone then.
No, it's a perfect excuse to reread them.
Well, as if I need that stuff in. Like, make Lorian's death more gruesome and horrific and painful for him.
Lauren's death
was
to happen 1,000 times.
When I went through them, and I went through them after sensitivity readers read them and gave me their input. I love working with sensitivity readers. Love it. The 2 sensitivity readers that are working with me on House of Night are amazing. Amazing. We have a woman of color who's also queer, and we have a awesome Native American reader. I love both of them. And I have to be very careful to not actually rewrite the books, though. So it's not, that doesn't change. What happens doesn't change. It's the descriptions, the language, and some of the reactions that we learn about later come into play earlier.
Oh.
So but it's still House of Night. It's still the way it was. I decided as I was doing it, I'm not updating the references. I'm not going to update all the other references that the kids used that, they're really from the mid 2000s, about 2005-ish, right? And I started to update them, and I was like, nope, I'm not updating them. No, I'm going to leave them exactly how they are. It's nostalgic. It's when the books are set. It's so I'm leaving them as they are. And I did. So they really are. It's just, I just went through and fixed them. That's all I'm doing. I'm not changing. I'm just fixing.
You're bringing new audience to the True Blood fandom as well, because that was mentioned quite a few times.
Oh, yes. Yeah,
True Blood.
Wait, what are you talking about? True Blood.
True Blood, yeah, because True Blood was really big when I was writing House of Night. True Blood was really big. And I love True Blood too. So yeah.
We're talking about that series now on the podcast. So
are you?
Oh. Yep. We just finished book 6. So it's very exciting.
Do you have any
other novels? Finished book 6. We're not sure if we actually ever read book 6 before. We still wouldn't read it.
Do you guys have any other non-spoiler questions for me about Into the Miz?
Well, we do. The last question that we have here that we need to ask, because it wouldn't be an episode of Fictional Hangover, even if it is a mini episode of Fictional Hangover, without a would you rather question.
Oh, good. Okay.
So, and we know, and this is just based on the summary, because again, no spoilers, because we're trying really hard here.
Good job.
We know based on the summary that this biological weapon bestows powers on women. So we want to know, which power would you choose if you had the choice from the ones listed in the summary? Would you rather be a warrior, a seer, a watcher, a priestess, or a healer?
Oh, man. Well, I identify most closely with the warrior character. But were I actually in an apocalypse, I would think that probably the healer character would be more, because both those characters can grow plants with their blood.
Cool. Okay.
So that's cool. That's good. But, and then we also find out that the healer has a more difficult time healing herself than healing others, which makes sense.
Yeah.
But so my first answer would be the warrior, because I identify with her. Plus, it would be really nice to be really strong and really fast, you know? Yeah. That helps during apocalypse. But also the healer part, I don't know, I'm kind of torn. I'm going to say the warrior, though, because the warrior, I identify with her more closely. But I'm torn. Yeah. What about you guys?
I always, in this case, in apocalypse scenarios, always choose a healer, because I have fucking diabetes and I won't survive the apocalypse. Right.
Yeah.
Now,
I gotta save myself.
There, Amanda, you can't, because as we've just established, the healer has a hard time healing themselves.
Look, I'll do anything.
I am going to be a healer so I can make sure I can heal you as well.
Okay.
There, see?
Okay, that's fine.
She can heal herself though. But your diabetes, if you were one of the healers, the green mist would probably take care of that diabetes.
Okay.
Score.
Yeah.
Yes.
And
bring on the mist.
Because it does make changes. It does make changes. And it's really cool to, and it's very handy during an apocalypse to be like a seer, to know when shit's coming down.
Yeah.
Right? When it's like, when our seer character says, pack it up, get the hell out of here now. They're like, yes. And if they don't, if they dilly-dally, like I did getting ready for this podcast, if they mess around or if something stops them, things every single time something gets fucked up. So you learn very quickly, if she says go, we need to go.
Yeah.
That is a big deal in book 2. It's a big deal because our seer, her confidence gets shaken. You guys know, at the end of book 1, her confidence is shaken in her abilities. Yes. And so in book 2, at the beginning of book 2, she's not quite as assertive as she is early in book 1 until this confidence shaking episode happens. So she's more like, okay, I don't know if I'm thinking this isn't a good idea because I don't like dead things and I don't want to go in there, or because there's something dangerous in there. So that sets up a situation in book 2 where something really, really not good happens that they could have prevented had she been more confident in her abilities.
Ooh.
See, that's the thing about being a seer. I always wonder or worry that it will be a Cassandra situation, you know, from mythology, that you're not believed, and you know, in fact, it's the opposite, and everybody doesn't believe you, and nobody follows you, and death, and I always worry about that as a seer character.
I just listened to Electra, and a book by, I can't even remember. I'm sorry, author. I was really terrible about remembering names. And Electra, one of the big characters in it was Cassandra, that you get from her point of view. And it's so frustrating to be a seer that, like our seer too, she has this knowledge, but even after she proves to herself she knows what she's talking about and proves to others, you still have, you know, some people being like, but do you really mean that we shouldn't do that? She's like, yes, I really mean you shouldn't do that. And then of course, our seer also has a mouth, and she's like a 40-something-year-old woman who knows herself. She's like, fucking go ahead and do it then. Bye. You're gonna screw up.
Other people doubting you is horrible. Like, you know, if you've already got your confidence knocked and then everybody's second guessing or nudging you, oh, it's just the worst. It's
that happens.
Be supportive.
That definitely happens in the, Yes, I have an alarm going off in the front of my house. And let me look on my cameras real quick and make sure nothing bizarre is going on out there. Okay.
Something bizarre is happening.
Fine. Everything's fine.
Okay. Like,
sorry, everything's fine.
Is the mist coming? Did your seer tell you that you need to get the fuck out? Because
my seer, who is based on one of my best friends, she has not told me I need to get the fuck out. So I'm feeling just fine about everything right now. The Scotty dogs, they are not on high alert. Seems like everything's
safe for now.
Plus, we'd be okay. If the mist just came a little bit, we'd be okay.
Yeah.
It's when you get trapped in it that then you're not a good idea to camp in a low, because it's heavier than air. So it's low. Yeah, no, not a good idea. Not a good idea. No.
Oh, okay. Well, it looks like we've kept you for about an hour, which, I mean, that's mini for fictional hangover.
That is mini for fictional.
That's short for fictional hangover. So we'll let you go, but is there anything else that you want to say about this book that comes out next week for everyone? If you're not cool like us and you already got it, is there anything else you want? What do you want everyone to know? What do you want them to take away from this book?
It's a good time. Even though it's apocalyptic and the body count's kind of high. Well, no, the body count's real high. It's going to make you laugh. It will make you laugh, and it will be an escape from existential dread.
And that's what we need right now.
We do. Mm-hmm. We do.
We are surrounded by dread in the United States at this point. So
this will help.
That's what we need. Okay. Thank you so much for joining us to talk about your book. And please come back when we talk about it, like in actual full spoilery details like we do on Fictional Hangover. We're planning on doing that in August. So we're going to have to drag you back for that so we can actually have a real conversation about the book, because we're dying and we need to, but we're going to save it for August.
Okay.
It's literally hurting me.
I know.
Pain.
But it'll be fine. Everyone will be fine. It'll be okay.
Right.
All right. Thank you so much. We love you, PC.
Love you too.
Thank you.
Bye, guys.
Bye. So that's it for this super special mini bonus episode of Fictional Hangover. I'm Amanda.
And I'm Claire.
Join us next time for our regularly scheduled episode out on Wednesday. Look out for our Would You Rather polls on social media. Don't forget about our book club and monthly challenges on Facebook. Be sure to visit our shop on Redbubble at fictionalhangover.redbubble.com for all your favorite Fictional Hangover themed merchandise, and become a patron of ours on Patreon at patreon.com/fictionalhangover. Until next time, remember, the only cure for a fictional hangover is another book.